You're listening to the Trade Show Insights Podcast, Season 10, Episode 5. I'm your host and exhibit marketing strategist, Marlis Arnold, bringing you tools to improve your exhibit results. On today's Trailblazer episode, we're going behind the scenes to discover how one medical association is boldly reinventing their conference and trade show, transitioning from a medical education event to a total brand experience.
Our Trailblazer guest today has built a reputation in the meetings industry as an innovative leader who knows how to get things done. Tom Pellet is the Meetings and Convention Director for the American Academy of Family Physicians and is responsible for all meetings and convention operations of the 110,600-member organization. He oversees the coordination of more than 55 meetings annually, including the organization's largest meeting, the one we'll be discussing today, which involves more than 10,000 attendees and 250,000 square feet of exhibit space. Now, before coming to the AAFP, Tom held leadership roles at a number of other organizations throughout his 40 years in the meetings and trade show industry, including Group Vice President for Expositions at Cygnus Business Media, where he directed the production of 15 regional conventions and trade shows. As Associate Executive Director at the Society of Petroleum Engineers, he directed the meetings, marketing, and sales operations in addition to overseeing the total administration of the Offshore Technology Conference. In his role as show director for Miller Freeman, he administered the strategic positioning of the Kitchen and Bath Industry Show. He's also played an administrative role at the Sporting Goods Manufacturers Association and the National Cattlemen's Association. And in addition to all this association experience, he started in the hotel business working for Hilton, Fairmont, and Walt Disney Productions. So he's seen the meetings industry from many perspectives. So we're very honored today to have you with us. Welcome, Tom.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Well, let's start out. First of all, our focus today, the reason that I invited you to be a guest is because the AAFP is doing something with their annual convention that it's a trailblazing idea for a lot of shows. I mean, most shows probably need to do this, but they're not. And that is you've totally revamped and are rebranding your show from top to bottom, it sounds like. So tell us a little bit about how that came about. First of all, what is the rebrand and how did it all come about, that decision?
Well, the rebrand of the show is it was called the Scientific Assembly, and it was the AAFP Scientific Assembly, and it's been like that for years. It is now changed to the name of FMX, which is Family Medicine Experience, and that's going to be the new brand of the show and the way we'll carry it on for the future. The reason we changed and the reason that we rebranded and are repositioning the show is that as we looked back towards the last couple of years, we saw that our attendance levels were leveling off. Consequently, if you don't have the attendance, you're not going to see the expansion of your trade show because it doesn't give the ROI that the exhibitors want because they don't see the number of attendees there. So
right.
Consequently, when we looked at the number of attendees that were coming in, and over the last 5 or 6 years it had leveled off, we felt as though we had to do something to rebrand the show, reposition the show, and consequently make it different. The other thing that we wanted to do, too, is we noticed that our show in the past has always been if you want to call it a CME conference, in that all of the things that we did was, and the reason people attended the show was to get a wealth of CME over a 4-day period.
And for For those who are listening, back up just a bit. What is CME in case?
It's Certified Medical Education.
Okay.
So in order to get certified medical education, and they needed a wealth of that in order to get recertified, they would come to the conference. That was the only reason they came to the conference. And so we thought that what we would do is, rather than keep the show the same way, that we would rebrand the show, reposition the show, that it became an experience that offered more than just CME, but offered other opportunities for learning and knowledge to be a better family physician. Consequently, we could increase the number of attendees that would come to the show. So with those things in mind, that was kind of the underlying reason why we decided that it was time to really take a hard look at what we were doing, how we were doing it, and then rebrand the show and redevelop the content. And that's what we're in the process of doing.
I love that you've added the word experience in there, because ultimately that's what every trade show needs to be doing, is creating an experience and becoming such an event that people can't resist coming. I mean, it's something that they look forward to, and it's on their calendar every year.
And what it has to do, if you're going to have an experience that's going to be able to attract more people, you really have to look at your audience, and you have to be able to do a deep dive on the audience and say, what are the personas of your audience or of your membership? Once you look at that, then you see what the different needs, wants, and desires of the different personas within your membership. And then consequently, what you can do is you can start to develop your conference and your trade show around those different personas. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're doing. Okay, so there's a lot of different opportunities for different needs, wants, and desires of the attendees.
So what are some of the steps that you've taken then? So when did all of this start? I know you're partway through the process now. When did you actually start doing the I guess you would say, audience discovery process?
Well, we actually started back in about 2012. And the first steps, obviously, was do a very deep dive into everything that we do. So we, at that point, felt that the best way to do that was to hire a consultant. We brought a consultant in that would help us go through that process and look at everything we were doing and do a lot of the research. Although we do have a market research department that they could use a lot of the research we already had on our membership, there also was an opportunity for them to look at it from an outside view and not an internal view, and then consequently be able to give us some suggestions of the roadmap or the way that we needed to go. So consequently, that's what we did. We hired a consultant. The consultant came in and did a deep dive on our content, looked at our trade show, looked at our locations, looked at just everything that we do as far as the convention and trade show is concerned. And once we had all of that information, then we came up with actually about 9 things that we felt that we needed to do. And the first one that we needed to do was to make sure that, and you can't do this unless you have this number one thing, and that is that you have to have the leadership and everybody agree that this is urgent, it needs to be done, and it needs to be acted upon. So the first thing we did is, after we had all of the information, we had a meeting with everybody in the building and had them all come in, and we laid out exactly what the research was telling us and the roadmap and direction that we were going to have to take. That then was taken to the board of directors, so that there was buy-in by the board of directors as to what the routine or the roadmap that we were going to take to reinvent the show. The second thing we did is we went to our EVP, and the EVP then made sure that there was a dictate down to all of the VPs, directors, managers, and below, that this was the number one priority, that we were going to do it, that there was going to be obligations by different people to do different things, and that they will be evaluated on their work. If you don't do that, you're not going to get this done, because this is a thing that has to take place on the part of the entire organization.
Right.
Because your show, your conference and your show should be a reflection of your organization. And unless the whole organization is involved and committed to what you're doing, you're not going to ever be able to achieve this.
Well, and so what did you find as you started presenting? Did you get a pretty open-minded response, or did you push back? Or no,
I think the big thing that you realize is, at my position, being in a director's position, I felt that you can talk at that level, but what you have to do, it has to come from the very top, and the commitment has to come from the top. And that's why we made sure that we had the board of directors and the EVP on board with what we were trying to do. Then from there, everybody will fall in line, obviously, because hey, he's the boss. And so you're going to do what the boss wants you to do, right? So we didn't see much pushback whatsoever. And the thing of it is, we had laid out a plan that I think that everybody agreed that it was necessary to do. So that's really the first step that needs to be done, and that's probably the most critical step that needs to be done if anyone's planning on rebranding or repositioning their event.
Oh, definitely, because if you don't have that buy-in and you don't have the whole team on board, then how do you expect to sell that rebrand to your membership and your exhibitors? So
that's right. That's exactly. Right. The second thing we did is we, as I said before, we felt as though we had to not make it just a CME event, and that's where we came into. We wanted to make it an experience. That led us also to, rebranding with that in our name. So the FMX stands for Family Medical Experience. This is more of an experience. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of things to see. There's a lot of things to learn in a lot of different ways. So that was the second thing we had to do, was to make sure that people understood that there was more to this show than just CME. Because, when you look at certified medical education, there's a lot of places where you can get certified medical education. And we wanted to make sure that we made sure that our medical education was better than anybody else's, that it was the place to go to get your medical education. And so we had to sell that story not only to the membership but also to our chapters.
Well, and I like too how you mentioned earlier about studying the different audience personas and what they're looking for. So you're able to craft things that meet their needs, not just on an educational level, but other types of things that they're looking for as well. So tell us a little bit about some of the things that you're doing, beyond the education.
Well, one of the things that you have to do with everything that we're doing is there has to be a tie. And what I'm saying is this. When individuals go to, say, a CME session, that they have to know what the other things are that tie to that medical education. For instance, if an individual goes and he goes to a medical education meeting that we have that says on cardiovascular, at the same time, what you tell them is all of these other meetings are available here that are not for CME, but they're on that subject, and let them know where they are and what they are. The second thing you do is you say also, these are the trade show booths that you may want to visit because they tie to what you're learning in cardiovascular.
Smart.
And here are some of the other courses and things that we produce throughout the year that may be of interest to you while you're at the show, to be able to sign up for those meetings that will be on further on in the year for CME or non-CME. So what you're doing in a way is you're tying everything together and making it easy for an attendee to have a roadmap to be able to make his own schedule while he's there on whatever the subjects are that he wants to see. But at the same token, he's not only going to the educational course that's for CME, but he's also going to the non-CME courses, to the trade show booths, and to the other activities that are going on that may relate to that particular subject that he's interested in.
I love that. It's like making a customized track or a customized agenda for each attendee.
That's exactly what it is. And then the thing of it is you want to construct your courses so that they're done on different levels of the way they're taught, okay? So what happens is that an individual, say, that's 50 years of age or greater, maybe 45, 50 years of age or greater, we find that those individuals like a lecture-type situation. So conduct some of the sections that you do in a lecture-type situation. For instance, if you look at some of the younger groups like the millenniums like interaction. They want to be able to come in and sit down, talk, sit around a table, discuss a problem, discuss a case study or whatever. And so consequently, you conduct some of your courses that way. So what you do is you have a whole bunch of different courses also done in different ways and modes of educating. And that way it appeals to all the different personas that you have.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, exactly. It goes back to that customized education. It's not just the topics that are customized, but it's the learning styles, because people do learn in different ways.
That's exactly right. That's what we're doing.
So, yeah, I love that. And I don't hear about that from very many conferences. I think too many conferences are still stuck in that lecture mode, which, let's face it, the majority of the audience, that doesn't work anymore. So
that's right.
There needs to be, even if it's not the totally interactive, like you were talking about with the millennials, where they just sit around and talk, just having some interactive elements in the education makes so much difference for everybody's learning level, actually.
Yeah. The other thing that we've done is audience response system we've put in every one of our meetings. So there's an audience response in every one of the meetings. So the thing of it is individuals are able to ask questions and be able to be more involved. So it brings the audience into it. The other thing that we felt that was very important is that for all of our courses, obviously we have speakers and presenters for every one of those, and most of them are doctors and so on. And so what we felt is the other thing we had to do is if we're going to put on really good courses, we have to have really good presentations, and we have to have really good presenters. If you're going to do that, then you have to invest in training. And so we've invested in training, and we have an entire training course. And it is a mandatory situation under their contract that they have to be involved in that course. So consequently, every one of our presenters goes through a training course, not only on the way he needs to present, but also how he needs to formulate and put together his presentation.
That actually should be required for more conference presentations.
Yeah. You'd be surprised how many people don't know how to do a really good presentation.
Oh, yeah. No, I've been to a lot of conferences. I know how many don't.
Yeah.
It really is amazing, because it's very rare when you get somebody with a fascinating topic that's also an excellent presenter. I mean, a lot of times because I know as a conference attendee, a lot of times I'll choose something based on the title of the session or the session description. I'm like, oh, wow, that sounds really interesting. And you go, and the presenter is just horrible, or maybe the presenter's okay, but just, their material is really dry, and it didn't end up being anything, you don't feel like you learned anything new. It's not, it's just like a rehash. So I think, giving those presenters, because like you said, they're doctors for the most part. They're not professional speakers.
That's right. What's interesting is look at that on the flip side. The flip side is that if you have really good presenters and really good presentations, the audience that attends that meeting is going to turn around and go home and say to his colleagues, I went to a meeting that was absolutely fantastic. The presenters were really good. The subject matter was well presented. And I really think that this is the kind of thing that more of our colleagues should be able to go to. Because now what you find is most doctors, especially family physicians, are employed. They're employed by clinics. They're employed by hospitals, so on and so forth. So the thing of it is now what you have in a large practice is you probably have maybe 5, 6, 8, 10 doctors or whatever, maybe 20 doctors or whatever. But how many of those really go to your show? Maybe the administrator lets 1 or 2 go. But if a guy comes back and says, God, this was fantastic. They were really good presenters, and they were well prepared, and they gave really nice presentations. I think we should send not 1, but we should send 5. Now your attendance goes up.
Well, and the doctors are going to be scrambling. It's like, I want to be sure and be on the list to get to go back next year.
That's right. That's exactly it. So all of these things tend towards hopefully increasing the attendance to the show.
Right. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the show floor. We've talked a lot about the education side of things. What are some of the changes that you're going to be implementing on the show floor?
Well, one of the things that we're doing this year is we're going to be putting together a participatory patient gallery that we're building on the floor. And what it does is, in an electronic sense, it's going to take an individual, and I know this can get a little more into the medical field, but basically what it does is the patient-centered medical home is the underlying premise behind it is that you don't work as an individual doctor, you work as a team. And the team involves the nurse practitioner, it involves the physician's assistant. It involves the physician and the other people within the office. And so consequently, it takes a team to be able to put together and be able to provide very good care for your patient.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're doing is this gallery that we're going to produce is taking those the elements of a patient-centered medical home, putting that together with disease states, and be able on flat screens be able to take an individual through how to treat an individual, say for diabetes, within a patient-centered medical home. How to treat a person for obesity in a patient-centered medical home. And the way it'll be done, so it's interactive, is all of these flat screens will have games, they'll have lecture-type things, they'll have cute little things that are, that you can interact with and so on. So it brings in the technology that people are looking for today, and at the same token makes it in an enjoyable way, so it's like a game or a trivia game or something of that sort that they enjoy doing, and yet it gets the message across and is educational at the same sense.
Well, and that's the thing, because these days most people are looking for what they call edutainment.
That's right. That's it.
So now the interactivity and the technology and things in the gallery, will that be from various exhibitors on the show floor, or is that something? Well,
what it is we're developing the content, and then what we're doing is that individuals that will support the gallery will all have, if you want to call it, pods within this area. And on those pods, they will be able to put their own message having to do with that particular disease state or whatever.
Okay.
So their sponsorship helps us to afford doing the gallery, and at the same time, it gets their individual message across. And they'll all have flat screens on their little pods, too.
Right.
On top of that, there also is a theater area in there where they'll be able to make presentations.
Okay. Well, it ties back in with what we were talking about earlier about the personalized agenda for an attendee. If they're there looking for a specific subject, again, they're going to see these are the exhibitors that are definitely in line with the information that I'm looking for, like you said, on diabetes or obesity or whatever the topic is.
That's right.
So it brings everything into alignment.
Yeah, what it does is, as I said, it aligns everything and connects everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so it makes it easy for an attendee to be able to look at his schedule or develop his schedule to come to the meeting.
Right.
And get what he wants out of it.
Right. Very smart. I like that idea.
Mm-hmm.
So,
we also have product theaters. We're doing product theaters on the floor. Again, those are individual areas where people can, or companies can come in. They have a 50-minute presentation that they can do there. Those are all done at lunchtime, and we provide lunch. We provide, as the association, provide lunch for anyone that's attending any of those product theaters. We have 3 theaters going simultaneously, and each one holds about 200 people.
Mm-hmm.
So those are going to be on the floor. And then
I bet those will be well attended as well.
Oh, yeah, they always are. And then on top of that, we also have a new product area that we've put on the floor. We have a nutrition and beverage area that we've put on the floor. We have a career center on the floor. We got a technology area that we're on the floor. We also have a public service area that we have on the floor. So there's different areas within the floor where you can get different, again, fills different needs of the members.
Mm-hmm. Well, and back to the whole thing about it's not just about the education. It's about meeting all these other needs as well. So
sure, yeah.
So this will be your show is in October, correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And this will be your first year to actually implement the new branding.
Yeah, the branding was actually announced at last year's the last general session that we had. It was announced last year, and we started doing a little bit of things that we're doing. The other thing that we're doing also is that we have what we call member interest groups, and we've gone out to the membership and with various interest groups that we've segmented out and said, if you're interested in being in this interest group, go ahead and sign up for it. And we now have, I think at last count, we have 10 or 12 of them set up right now. All of them have to have at least 50 members. They're self-governing. so that they govern themselves as far as what they want to talk about, what they want to do. And then at the meeting, we also have an opportunity for them to network and interact as a group. And we have cocktail parties for them, and we have meetings of each one, and we'll have a meeting there where they'll be able to get together. So here again, what you're doing is segmentation of your membership and saying, hey, if you want to get to somebody that's involved in, say, women's health, join that group. Go see all your colleagues that are interested in the same subjects. The other thing that we do is on this trade show floor, where we serve about 4,000 people a day on the trade show floor for lunch. So what we do is that whole area that's there, there's one segmented area in there where the tables are actually have placards on them that have to do with the various different interest groups that may want to sit down and talk at lunch. And what we do there is it'll have, say, like a placard that'll say women's health, and then it'll have 4 or 5 questions. What you find is, or what we found is that if you put a placard on a table that says, I don't know, again, like women's health, people will sit at the table, but they don't interact because nobody wants to be the first one to say anything. So if you put questions on there, on the placard, say women's health, and then you have 2 or 3 questions, someone will read the question, and then the next thing you know, people will start to interact and network. So that's what we do. So
it's like an icebreaker.
Yeah, we give them icebreakers to get them going, and so consequently that charges them up to start talking about the subject. We have those on the floor. We also have an area where we have Meet the Experts, where the various lecturers, when they give their lectures, certain ones will be able to have time that they designate that they will be at a certain place at a certain time. So if you want to carry on the conversation having to do with their presentation, you can go ahead and meet them at that time, at that designated time, and carry on the conversation with them after their presentation. Because what we found is in a 50-minute presentation, what you find is a lot of people have questions, but they're not able to ask them. And then they follow the presenter as he walks to the men's room or whatever. And so consequently, they get no time. And so what we did is we set this up so they can meet the expert, and they know that there's a designated time that they can get those questions answered, and it'll be at another time other than right after his lecture.
Right. Well, and another thing I know from being a speaker at a lot of conferences is that there's a lot of people who want to ask you a question, but they don't want to raise their hand and ask it publicly in the session. So that's a great way, too, that they can come up to you. Like you said, they're not coming up to you in the restroom or while you're trying to eat lunch.
Right. Exactly right. So that we've done that, too. So anyway, there's a lot of, as I said, there's a lot of different opportunities, a lot of different things. But I guess the underlying thing is the marketing will be segmented based upon the personas. The education will be the same. And everything that we do, and then we also try to tie everything together. So by doing all of that, we make it more of an experience for people, and we also give them an easy roadmap to be able to go through the event.
I think it's great. I love how you've really customized and tailored it. It's not just adding the interactivity, but like you said, it's making each attendee feel like that this conference has been constructed just for them and their needs. So I'm curious, I know we don't have a lot of time to get into a lot of depth, but you mentioned that the marketing will be also based on those various personas. How is that going to work?
Well, as I said, what we've done is we've taken a lot of the demographic information that we have as well as the personas themselves that we've put together. And then what we'll do is a lot of our marketing, we do a lot of postcarding. And so a lot of those postcards that we put together, every one of those postcards is geared towards a different segment. And we've segmented out the membership so that we know that if we go to, X member and he happens to be a millennium, we know pretty much what he's looking for. And so the marketing that we send to him throughout the whole period that we'll be advertising to him in his postcards and the pre-pieces that we send out, all of those things will be geared towards his persona.
So it's built around the demographics that you have on your existing members, then?
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Smart. Well, what has been the response so far from members and exhibitors? I know you haven't actually held the show yet with this new structure, but what's the feedback you've gotten so far?
Well, I think, the thing is we don't know exactly how things are going to go. It's going to take a couple of years for everybody to get used to this.
Sure.
It's not you don't do this in one meeting and then the sun comes out. It's one of those things that you have to, work at year after year. And hopefully as we train more presenters, as we do better with our content, as we do better with the way that we align things and connect things, I think people will start to see more and more value in the show, and then consequently over time. And our timeline has been that we feel that if we started a little bit of it last year, and with what we're doing this coming year, and then where we'll be by the time we get to 2016 or 17, we think that maybe we'll start to really bear the fruit of our efforts.
Well, and that's a good point. This is not, like you said, this is like a 4 or 5 year plan.
Oh, yeah.
This is not something that you just said, okay, we're going to just change everything this year.
Yeah.
So I think that's why a lot of shows and a lot of associations get, I guess you would say, frozen by the idea of rebranding, because they think, oh, this is so overwhelming. But if you break it down and map out a 5 year plan, it is achievable, because you just keep taking those steps forward.
Well, and you have to take those steps forward because times are changing.
Definitely.
The way that trade shows and exhibits and conferences were done 10 years ago is totally different today. Totally different. And the needs of the members and the needs of the attendees are not the same as they were years ago. So if you're going to be here in the future, then you've got to start planning today, or otherwise you're not going to be here in the future.
Well, exactly. And that's what I've been saying about associations for many years is, you've got to shake things up, or else your members are going to start just fading away.
That's right.
So kudos to you and the AAFP for being trailblazers and really, putting your money where your mouth is and making this all happen. I think this will be really exciting to watch and see how it all comes together. So I want to thank you again, Tom. Is there any final thoughts you want to share with the listeners?
No, I just think that, again, if you want to take this on, as I said before, the first thing that you need to do is you have to make sure that you align and get everyone inside your organization on board with what you're trying to do. If you do that, you at least have a fighting chance. If you try to do it on your own as just the meetings and convention area or whatever, you won't succeed.
That's some very wise advice from our trailblazing guest today, Tom Pellet from the AAFP. And if you enjoyed today's interview and you'd like to spread the word about the Trade Show Insights podcast, please take a minute to leave a rating and or review in iTunes. This helps to boost visibility so that more people will find the show. Trade Show Insights is protected by the Creative Commons copyright license. You may feel free to share this recording with colleagues or embed it in your own blog as long as it is shared in its entirety and is not used for commercial purposes. To learn more, please see the link in the sidebar of the show notes at tradeshowinsights.com. Well, that's it for this episode of Trade Show Insights. Be sure to check out our show notes and archives at tradeshowinsights.com or connect with me using the social media links or contact page on the site. I'm Marlis Arnold. Thanks for listening, and be sure to join us next time for more tools to improve your exhibiting results.